Hey everyone, Dave here, and today we are checking out this system called Undo, Weaving Fates Anew, and this is called Drowned Hopes. And what this is this is a shortened demo version of this whole system because there are 3 other cases that are available for purchase, and I don't want to spoil anything with those, so we're just going to go ahead and play through these. So what we are going to be doing is going back in different periods of time, trying to undo things and try to perhaps change the fate or prevent the death of the victim that we have here. So what I have done is I have set up these 8 cards in numerical order starting from 1 all the way up to 8, and I have the little manual off to the side that you don't see, but because there's some information that we have to read from there. But what it says to do is put these in order, and then we're going to turn over the number 8 card and we are going to read it. So here it says, the circumstance of death somewhere in the North Atlantic, July 16th, 2011 at 9:59 a.m. A leaking sailboat stuck on the reef below. A hopeless glance across the infinite sea. Water everywhere, but nothing to quench his thirst. He forces a grating laugh from his parched throat. Is this the end? A moment of thought, then a determined kick to dislodge the chest. A moment of weightlessness, a jolt, and the noose tightens and darkness immediately steals over him. At last, a plan has worked the way it was supposed to. Har, har. Now continue reading the manual. So what I'm going to do is there are these ones that have a magnifying glass, these 3 cards, and I'm going to place them in front of me here on the board. They're off to the side. And then it says there are 21 cards that have a galaxy background, and they are in numerical order, and I'm just going to place them here above the number 8 card. And then finally there are these clue cards that have a keyword on them that I'm going to place below each one of these. So there's a number in the upper corner. It says, this is like, for example, 3. This goes on 3. We have 4 and 5, 6, 7, and 8. So we're going to be playing, and then it says turn over the clue card chest, which was this highlighted word here. And so it says the chest is centuries old, the valuable contents has been spilled all over the boat in anger, an unused shovel is lying next to it. So we have a clue trying to figure out now something, the shovel may have something to do with this. So it says continue reading the manual. It says you're playing as a team, but you take turns clockwise. You discuss everything as a group, but the final decision is made by the player currently taking their turn. This applies to the next destination for your time travel, the change you want to make, the current event, and whether or not you want to use magnifier cards. The life of this game comes from constructing theories about what has happened and discussions about what you have to do to prevent it. So during this mission, we're going to turn over 5 more of these cards, and then the game ends when I turn over 6 story cards, including this one. So we have 5 more to go. And then we will, at the bottom of the card, we'll have to decide how we're going to change events. And after reading the story card, we're going to discuss which one of the options. And then we can gain additional clues by discarding one of these magnifying cards and being able to flip over the clue cards to get additional information. Then after we choose something, we're going to resolve something by finding this card here and flipping it over, and we're going to find a result. Either it's going to be a plus, a minus, or a 0. And if we get a minus, that means that we made things worse. If we get a 0, nothing changed the course of events. And if we got a plus, it means that we had basically changed things for the better. And then the other, so whatever story card, the other 2 cards that we don't look at, so for example, like this is 1, there's a 1A, B, and C, we'll put them away off to the side. And then once we get done with those, we'll open the other file found when reading the link on the back of the cover card, and that's the end of the story, and we will figure out what happens. So we're just going to get ready to go through this. I'm going to be doing this as a solo play, so all the decisions will be made from me. So if we look at these options, some things go here, the time goes back all the way 397 years ago, back to 1614. in the morning sometime in the North Atlantic, which we were already here in the North Atlantic. So, but there's this shovel that's going on, and I'm kind of thinking that maybe we're going to go let's try and go 5 years ago to see what happens in London, Great Britain, February 20th, 2006 at 10:38 a.m. And so this says, why, Peter, why? John wonders and shares his head in disbelief. Several things are much clearer now, but not Peter's motivation. Was it about money? Or did Peter want to put one over on him? Was Cynthia behind the matter? Why Peter just dumped his promising career remains a mystery to John. Suddenly John has an idea how to use the situation to his advantage. So you have to choose now. You ensure that John A. turns to the police with his suspicion, confronts Peter, or forces more thefts on Peter. So we just kind of go into this bit of time where we're looking at, okay, we're wondering what is going on. We don't really know a lot of context other than looks like we are going to be controlling what John does. And he had a promising career. Do we want to figure out what that career was? Well, let's go ahead and discard one of these magnifying glasses for his career and flip this over. And it says, yesterday, Peter was a promising student and friend of Professor Dr. John Milovic. Today, it became obvious that he stole an ancient piece of jewelry. So Peter, so right now, so maybe we are in charge of Peter's fate. We're not really sure. We just know that it's a man. There was a shovel that was there. So we have to figure out that, if he turns to the police with his suspicion, not sure what's going to happen here. Is he going to confront Peter? Because it looks like he was a friend, and I don't know if and then it became obvious that he stole a piece of jewelry. I think that we're going to have John is going to confront Peter. So what we're going to do is we're going to look up the number 4 cards. So we'll pull these out of the deck. And we have 4A, 4B, and 4C. Those are the 3 options. So we said A, so we're going to say that B confronts Peter. And so this means that it's a plus. So we have made the situation better by saying that he confronts Peter. And so already now things are going to be looking better in this particular case. So he confronts Peter. Still don't know what's going on. So maybe we should find out. Let's fast forward a little bit. Maybe let's go to 3 years ago over here. And in São Jorge, Azores, September 13th, 2008 at 11:32 a.m. So we're looking at, this was 5 years ago in February 2006. So we're going to spring a little bit ahead. And this says that Peter calms his breath and follows the diver into the wreck. He draws ever closer to his former boss without being noticed. The feeling of betrayal re-emerges along with his thoughts of that time. He has an outrageous idea. Peter shakes in anger, pulls his knife, and cuts the other diver's air hose, creating a burst of air bubbles. Horrified, Peter stares at what he has done. You ensure that Peter A. offers his rival his air supply. B. flees undetected, or C. stabs him to ensure that he is not betrayed a second time. So now we're starting to piece together here. We can go back and look at 5 years ago, and with this clue that Dr. John Milovic was basically like his teacher. Not sure if it was his boss, but we can see that Peter has had a troubled life at this point. And we're already, looks like he's already in despair, in disbelief over here. He's having really strong, the feelings of betrayal reemerges with his thoughts about that time. I don't really know if I want to know about his thoughts, but I'm just going to say that at this point that Peter is going to stab him to ensure that he is not betrayed a second time. So we're going to look up card number 5. And so we have 5A, B, and C. So we already have a +1 there. 5C is going to, we're going to make the situation worse now by stabbing him. So it probably wasn't the smartest thing that by him doing that, but that is what has happened. So we realize now that Peter's been confronted, Peter has now murdered somebody. Do we want to know why? Maybe this was his boss. Let's try and dig back a little bit further in the past and find out here. Let's go back 6 years ago in London, Great Britain. So March 11th, 2005. So roughly a year before he was in London there. And it says, tenderly the young man whispers something into her ear and retrieves a velvet-covered box from behind his back. Cynthia's heart is beating fast while she opens it. The contents leave her speechless. She looks to her boyfriend, who is waiting expectantly. "Oh, sweetheart," she whispers. You ensure that Cynthia flings her arms around his neck and kisses him with abandon. B admires herself in the mirror with the contents of the box, or C has doubts and asks him to return the gift. He needs a little hope in his life here, so I think that he's going to ensure that Cynthia flings her arms around his neck and kisses him with abandon. So we're going to look up 3, and then we're going to flip. So we've got, 3A, B, or C. So this was 3A. Oh, we made the situation worse again. So at this point now, we are starting to see now, I don't know what Cynthia has to do with this particular situation, but she obviously is not in love with him. So whoever this man is. So we have a bunch of different things that are going on throughout this story. We are already now 4 cards through the story. Let's try to see if maybe we can go up a little bit further up here and see what's going on here. Let's flip over. We're going to go 4 days ago in São Miguel in Azores, July 11th, 2011 at 10:32 p.m. And we read here that Gregor checks in his toolbox for the proper screwdriver when someone disturbs his repairs. "Come on over for a moment, Gregor. We'll never be that young again, at least I won't." With a smirk, the owner of another boat anchored a few berths away offers him a can of beer. Gregor looks up from his work and thinks. You ensure that Gregor... Well, I think that we need to find out a little bit more about this guy, and I don't know how it's going to weave into the story, so let's go ahead and discard one of these things here. Gregor is a man in his mid-50s from Germany and travels alone. He will report his boat as stolen the next day. So maybe this man over here, he has stolen his boat. So let's see. So we're going to see that Gregor, let's see, he checks his boat for a gift and joins the party. B finishes the repair of his radio set and goes to the party afterwards. Or C doesn't go to the party and instead checks his harpoon for tomorrow's fielding. So he's being asked, so he checks his toolbox for the proper screwdriver when someone disturbs his repairs. So he's probably a little agitated about things, and they say, "Come on over, we'll never be young, young again, at least I won't." And then the guy with the smirk kind of offered him a can of beer, and not sure if he wants him to come over. So I say that, I'm going to probably say that Gregor is not going to go to the party. So let's go to the 7C card, and... Okay, so by not going to the party, he has made the situation better. So looks like perhaps going to this party would have been something bad for him. So right now, the way that we're looking, we are at least on the upswing of trying to change the fate of what's going to happen in this story. So we have one more to flip over, and I think that based upon what things are going on, let's go way back in time to see if we can figure out the whole, maybe what was something in the beginning. So 397 years ago in Azores in the North Atlantic. Figure out why he's out on the boat, maybe. So it says here, have you lost your courage, Captain? Are you getting old? The young pirate jeers cockily. Captain Boyers is left speechless for a moment. He has been at sea for nearly 30 years and owns a letter of marque issued by the British Crown, but the firebrand gets muted approval from the crew. They dislike forfeiting a big catch, such as the Santa Clara. You ensure that Captain Boyers A. aims his pistol at the impertinent worm and pulls the trigger, gives the order to load the guns, or C. commands the crew to prepare for boarding. Well, from my little bit, let's, I have this one last clue, so I might as well use it. The Santa Clara. The Spanish ship is on a return trip from Peru. It is almost certain. It almost certainly has valuable goods aboard. Well, from what I understand about pirates, mutiny is not something that is tolerated on the ship. And when you have somebody challenging the captain, saying, "Have you lost your courage?" I think that he needs to establish. The fact that he doesn't mean business. So I think that he's just going to go ahead and he's going to. So his choices are, you know, he's going to. I think that the Captain Boyers is going to aim his pistol at the impertinent worm and pulls the trigger. He's going to kill him. So we're going to look at the one cards, 1A, B, and C, and we have made the situation better again. So we have now flipped over a total of 6 cards. At this point, we still haven't been able to weave things together, but through choices of actions, we have come out where it is going to be better. So I do have the rules, or the solution that's right here. So here is the end of the story. So the changes you have made to the past take effect simultaneously after your last jump. You hope you are able to undo the death you were trying to prevent. After 6 story cards are turned over, add up the points of the fate card you turned over. Check here to see how well you changed the thread of fate. So we have so this we are here at a net of 1 point, 2, 3, 2. So these two cancel each other out. So we are actually going to be at a positive 3 points. So let's see here. So -1. So this is +1, +2, +3. Yes. So we look at the bottom, 3 to 4 points. It says you were close, but fate was relentless. So we didn't really prevent this death here. But do you want to know how the story went originally? Were you so here's what truly happened. The discovery of America leads us to the colonial age. A ship named the Santa Clara, filled to the brim with treasure, is attacked by pirates and sinks before most of the riches can be plundered. Years later, young assistant Peter, who has had romantic notions of pirates and their treasure since childhood, tries to convince his boss, John Malevic, so here's his boss there, to search for the wreck. But John claims that Peter's theories for finding the wreck are dreamy nonsense. So one day, Peter steals a valuable piece of recovered antique jewelry to impress his girlfriend. When his mentor John finds out, he reports Peter to the police so that he can search for the treasure site on his own. Peter wants revenge. When he discovers that John is using his theory to find the shipwreck site, he decides to protect his treasure from his rival. When Peter dives into the wreck, he encounters his former boss and cuts the tube of his air supply. So you know, that was the one thing that we had talked about over here. This causes John to drown. In the following years, Peter is plagued by guilt and fears to make his discovery public. He starts drinking, and one day, thoroughly inebriated, he comes to a fatal decision. He decides to steal a boat to get rid of the treasure like a pirate would, by burying it on an uninhabited island. When he wakes up sober, he finds himself without water, a broken radio set, and a destroyed boat stranded on a reef. Days later, without hope of rescue and close to dying of thirst, he commits suicide. So it says, especially important decisions were, if on 1A up here, if Captain Boyes had shot the defiant pirate, the Santa Clara would not have been attacked, the ship would not have sunk, and they would have arrived with the treasure in Spain. So we ensured that, you know, so he did shoot him. So that was an important decision. If Captain Boyes had shot the defiant pirate, okay, yes. So by going back and changing this particular thing here, we wouldn't have had a situation where the boat would have sank. Peter would not have had the opportunity to go looking for the treasure. The other one We did not get to this one. And then 7C over here, the other one, if Gregor had stayed on the boat, Peter would not have been able to steal his boat. So we actually hit 2 of the key major bits of information to try and change things around. So anyways, this is the Undo Drowned Hopes, so you get a chance to see how this particular system works. If it's something that you're interested in, you can look for these in your local game stores or probably from an online retailer. So again, this is Undo from Pegasus Spiel. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.